many myths and misconceptions still persist around this sketchily documented topic. While some see Wallachians as primitive warriors, poorly equipped despite providing some measurable individual qualities, others see them the way Sergiu Nicolaescu, one of the greatest Romanian movie makers, did in his late blockbuster Mircea in 1989 about Vlad the Impaler's grandfather. Nicolaescu put all his Wallachian soldiers in shiny, heavy plate armor, letting them fight battles of epic proportions. The following description is not a general one, but one that focuses on the military operations of Vlad the Impaler between 1448 and 1476. Greetings! My name is Adrian Gheorghe, I'm a professional historian and part of the international and interdisciplinary research team CORPUS DRACULIANUM, which aims at collecting and publishing all historical sources of any kind and origin from and about the famous Wallachian voivode Vlad the Impaler Dracula. Before we get started, please consider supporting this scientific project and channel as much as you can by either subscribing or, if your purse allows, donating via PayPal to the following address. As usual, what we are telling here is the result of research carried out by our team of professional historians on original historical sources consulted in countless archives, libraries and museums around the world. To begin with, we shall keep in mind that Wallachia and Moldavia were hybrid cultures of contact between the Catholic, Central and Western Europe, Byzantine, Southeastern Europe and Western Anatolia, and Mongol world that dominated the broad steppes between today's Ukraine and China. One should therefore expect influences from all these horizons. Such cultures of the periphery have no problem acting asymmetrical in all aspects of their daily life or during wars. The second constant is the shortage of resources. Regions between empires always serve as war theaters and buffer zones where these powerful actors used to regulate their disputes. While swinging between sides and being on the search for external support, the ruling elites ended up becoming their proxies. As Wallachians or Moldavians elites clashed with each other for power or resources, their more powerful neighbors actively or passively fought for the upper hand in the region. Since the alliances were very much mobile and the conflicts very frequent, the political situation was highly unstable, displaying rapid changes of rulers, voivodes in Romanian, with devastating consequences for the local economy. The traditional military system of Wallachia is of Byzantine origin, with some Central European influences. As was usual in Western Europe and Byzantium, the noblemen, boyars in Romanian, had the duty to provide military support with their banners, steaguri, for the voivode who promised, confirmed or expanded their estates or gave them functions, dregătorii, in his ruling apparatus. The second most important military sources were the smallholding soldiers, kneji, and the smaller nobility, slugi domnești, who served either alone or with a few assistants, depending on the amount of income generated by their estates, baștină in Romanian. In many ways, their organization resembled that of the Ottoman Sipahi and Voynuk, with whom they shared common origins. One last category of soldiers were the war professionals, that is, mercenaries, especially bodyguards, crossbow and gunmen. The mercenaries were both Wallachians, Moldavians, Transylvanians and other Central Europeans, or even Turks and Italians. The monthly salary for a regular horseman was around 3 to 4 ducats, that is around 10 to 14 grams of gold, or more, depending on rank, equipment, tasks and skills. All these soldiers had to come to war with their own equipment, horses and own food. The mass mobilization of peasants, although maybe occurring in some exceptional cases, is just one of the greatest myths in the Romanian historiography, highly popularized during the communist period. Neither their limited skills and the war experience, nor the interests of the boyars they were working for, support this myth. 14th century Wallachia could have mustered no more than 7,000 to 8,000 men, including mercenaries. More about this in a separate video. The Wallachian and Moldavian warfare had its roots in Dești Câpceac, the steppes north of the Black Sea. This highly mobile art of war, practiced by light armored soldiers, came into both the Byzantine Empire and the Hungarian kingdom with 11th century Turkish nomads, especially Pechenegs and Cumans, and solidified with the 13th century Mongol Tatar domination. The arrival of the Ottomans with their similar military patterns posed no threat to these traditions and eventually diminished Western European influences. Dracula's time is a period of transition in which the Ottomans did not cut yet the Wallachian liaisons with the West, despite getting the upper hand in their competition with the Hungarians during the second half of the 15th century. In conclusion, the large space between Volga and Bosporus, including the area between the Carpathians and the Danube, represented a continuum in which certain patterns dominated the overall military thinking. The mobile warfare, hit-and-run tactics and stealth incursions did not need heavy protective gear, especially if this gear limits maneuverability, visibility and speed. Being outnumbered or outsourced at the very best of times, the Wallachians had to avoid close engagements of the enemy lines. However, skirmishing, scattered enemy detachments may have also implied direct charges and close combat. Consequently, the equipment used in battle simply reflects tactics and addressed immediate necessities, all leading to the optimal accomplishment of goals. The level of equipment reflects not only the art of warfare, but also the three main social and status stratifications in the Wallachian army. At the bottom stood the light armored knej and their men, who wore gambizons and some other padded pieces of textiles. The double protection by adding a chainmail, possibly reinforced with some small iron plates or a shield, came into consideration only if they expected a close combat. The 7 to 8 kilograms heavy chainmail offers significant protection against thrust and slashes, but not so much against the arrows. Celatas or more simply Chevaliers or Chevaliers, German Hirnhaube, at scale helmets protected their heads. The soldiers were explicitly required, sometimes under severe punishments, to come to battle with a certain equipment according to the resources of their estates. However, this did not mean that they, like all other soldiers, engaged in battle with their entire kit they brought with them. This would explain why all 16th century representations of Wallachian horsemen did not display any significant protective gear, apart from large Hungarian shields whose use must have been motivated by the lances that suggest cavalry charges. Their captains, capitani in Romanian, as well as the heavier cavalry from the banners of the boyars and many of the voivode's guardsmen, wore gambizons, doubled by chainmail and brigandines. Mostly overlooked by historians, this torso protection, consisting of many small iron and low carbon steel plates riveted beneath thick textile cloth, was most common on the Western and Central European battlefields. Besides being significantly cheaper than plate armor, the brigandine offered more flexibility at lower maintenance costs. This came at the expense of less protection against lances, halberds, and warhammers, which should not have posed any significant inconvenience anyway, since the Wallachians were avoiding enemies' heavy cavalry charges. More concerned with defense must have been the elites and their closest guards, that is, men extravagantly displaying their wealth and status, and those protecting them at any cost. Bright, shiny armor and very colorful gear was part of the spectacle. One might expect, therefore, that the voivode and his powerful boyars wore the most expensive full-plate armor that money could buy in Wallachia. Their guards wore either full-plate armor of lower quality, chainmail reinforced with armor plates in different combinations, or brigandines reinforced with larger steel plates, arm and head protection. Considering all this, one should add that we must keep a distance from the image of heavy full-plate armor that became increasingly present of the 16th century Western European battlefields. Most of the military gear, especially the more sophisticated protective equipment and even horse shoes, were imported from the local Saxon towns of Brașov, Kronstadt in German, Sibiu, Hermannstadt in German, and Sighișoara, Schesburg. Some of them were produced there, while other items, such as good quality plate armor, was imported from South German and possibly North Italian cities. The weapon of choice was the composite bow, shot from the horseback with a thumb, and the leather protection, or rere, with a metal thumb ring, zingir in Turkish. For emergency cases, a small axe, topor or baltag in Romanian, a bronze or iron mace, topuz or buzdugan, stood at disposal. They were ideal substitutes for very costly swords and sabers, mostly of Central and Western European origins. They were mostly straight, with one notable exception: the slightly curved 1.5-handed Hungarian cavalry saber, probably from the same category and origins as the German Kriegsmesser, war knife. This sword may have been the weapon of choice for any heavier or elite Wallachian soldier or mercenary. The voivode and his boyars would have preferred, of course, German or Italian-made straight swords of higher quality and prestige. Oriental swords with blades made of high-quality wood Damascus steel were still less likely, although still a possible alternative, as proven by a register from Kaffa in 1495. Oriental blades have established themselves in Central Europe towards the mid-16th century. Since cavalry charges in the Western European fashion, although occurring from time to time, mostly did not suit the Wallachian warfare. Lances, of which were mostly light, had a secondary importance. This warfare did not entirely exclude heavy soldiers, both on foot and on horseback. This was the case of the voivode's guards, who served as at his court, and rapid interventions troops, and the men of the most powerful boyars who directly competed with the ruler in displaying fashion and wealth. Until next time, as His Majesty used to end his Slavonic letters, may I also wish you healthily, may God rejoice over you. Bye.